With more than 200 games under his belt, it's clear that Nintendo is not shy about using their most famous character, Mario, in any number of genres or game universes. He's been a platforming hero, kart racer, a tennis player, doctor, a piece of paper. In one game, he is the hero, taking on his greatest rival, Bowser. The next minute, he is racing his old console rival Sonic at the Olympics or fighting a Street Fighter character. Through all of this, he has never lost his sense of Mario-ness. Pulling this off is no easy feat, and has required developers to take a wide variety of approaches to try and keep Mario feeling like himself, no matter what he is doing. In this video, I want to take a look at how Mario pulls off this universal character effect by looking at how his animations have been transferred across these multiple genres. With over 30 years of gaming history, we need to narrow the focus down of our investigation or the video is going to go on for hours. So I'm going to narrow it down to some general categories such as his jumps, his walks and runs, stops, animations, things like attacks and damage, and things I'm going to call micro cutscenes. Our first category is Mario's jumps. Mark Brown from Game Maker's Toolkit has an excellent video that discusses the gameplay mechanics of Mario's jump, and I can't recommend it enough. I'll give a link down below. But for the purpose of this video, I'm more concerned with the characters than the mechanics. So my question is, does Mario look like a superhero when he jumps? I'd argue no. He looks more like an athletic child on a trampoline. He looks pretty happy, and why not? If jumping on enemies' heads got me coins, I'd be pretty happy doing it too. I can't think of a better example of Mario's playful behavior than his triple jump. Mario's jump keeps getting bigger and bigger as even his voice gets more and more excited with each jump. The first jump is the classic Mario fist in the air. The second is this really stretched out pose with his chest forward and his head back. And the third has this big flip. Now, these moves could be used by other superhero characters, and I know I've seen Spider-Man jumping off of a building using that second jump pose. But I don't think I've ever seen Spidey landing like a gymnast in Celebration. Mario just looks like he's having a lot of fun out there. It's almost as if saving the princess isn't really the point. The thing to notice about Mario jumping is that he might have a lot of dynamic poses, but none of them emphasize him trying to be cool like many of the classic superhero poses do. He's out there to help you have a good time. Princess Peach is secondary and can probably take care of herself anyway. So if you see Mario jumping around in another character's universe, he'll look best if the jumps are playful. One partial exception is Mario in Smash Bros. Because of his facial expressions, he looks much more serious here, like he's actually focusing on the fight. But when you're zoomed out, even just a little, you can see the classic playful Mario jumps like his fist in the air, spin moves, and flips. Smash Bros. Is a very interesting example of Mario genre hopping. I'll have more to say on it as we continue. But if you're looking for a really in-depth frame-by-frame and historical reference of Mario's Smash moveset, please check out Dan's video at New Frames Plus. It's a fantastic analysis. Again, I'll have the link below. Let's see what other game genres use Mario's jump to help him feel like himself. Mario Tennis sees him running around with his hand busy on his racket most of the time. He can't do the classic fist in the air, and the game as a whole doesn't really lean heavily on a jumping game mechanic. So Camelot brought in some of his classic jump feeling to his special moves, like this wall jump based smash. The Mario RPG games do a great job of helping Mario feel part of the universe by keeping his jump built into his main attacks. Another thing about these moves is they really hold the dynamic pose for a long time on the screen, which even the newest 3D outings do. Nintendo is not scared about holding a jump pose for a long time. Mario and Sonic Olympics is a kind of mixed bag when it comes to bringing Mario together with characters from other universes. In something like his long jump, the animations reference his spin move from Super Mario World. But in events like hurdles, he seems to just be like any other human track and field runner. Now, there could be any number of reasons the developers chose to do this, and it's not poorly animated. But if the goal is bringing Mario into another universe, it's these little touches that add up to help him feel like he's really there. If it would have worked out gameplay-wise, it would have been nice to see that classic fist in the air on his jumps. I'd argue that when it comes to showing us personality, Mario's runs are just as important as his jumps. So how would you describe Mario's run? Personally, I'd call it charming. Again, let's labor under the assumption that we're trying to save our loved one. Passion and anger are running high. You would expect to see a run like this. Leaning forward, pumping our arms frantically in order to get to our goal. Instead, we have Mario running like this. Now, Mario's runs have evolved through the years, but they all have this common thread. Instead of leaning forward, he tends to be more straight up and down, even leaning back at times. His arms tend to wave out to his side more than the swinging pump of a superhero run. Even when he does lean forward, he puts his arms back in a classic ninja pose. The idea overall is to keep Mario looking happy when running. Part of the charm of Mario's run is the fact that he doesn't get up to speed instantly, nor does he stop on a dime. The animators did a great job showing the physics of the Mario games, whether it be Mario pumping his arms to try to get up to speed, or him taking 4 full steps before he gains any forward momentum, or any of the various exaggerated animations showing him trying to stop. All of these animations help support the idea of Mario games having slightly slippery physics. This slippery physics might be hard to pull off in some other genres, but if the opportunity presents itself, this is a nice tool to use to keep that Mario flavor. In a great example of using Mario's run outside of his standard adventures to show his character, Ubisoft's Mario & Rabbids keeps it very lighthearted. They use this Mario 3 cartoony run with his hands held tightly to his chest when he's not in combat, and switch to the arms swinging wide out to the side when he's in battle. This game doesn't have a lot of his classic jump mechanic involved in it, so it was clever to include a lot of these little touches from his gaming history to keep things feeling authentic. Going back to Mario and Smash Bros., his run breaks all the rules that we have just established. He has this classic superhero silhouette, and he looks like he's ready for a real battle. Now, this is just a guess, but this could be deliberate to keep Mario as easily readable as possible. With a game as chaotic as Smash, every bit of readability in the character movement matters. His classic run could be hard to read from far away. Still, if a clean silhouette was the real purpose of animating him this way, his ninja run could have been a possible replacement. But there could have been other gameplay problems involved with arms that far back. And at the end of the day, he spends so much time attacking and defending that this one animation change won't break his personality illusion. So, on the topic of moves that are out of character, Mario appears in a lot of games that for a variety of reasons might be difficult to bring his traditional moveset into. Now, what options exist to keep him feeling his happy-go-lucky self no matter the situation? The most common solution is what, for a lack of a better term, I will call micro cutscenes. This is anytime the player loses partial or total control of Mario in order for Mario to show a personality moment. Examples of this might be when Mario dies, or does a victory pose after collecting a star. Dr. Mario is probably the ultimate example of this, since the player has control over one animation for the entire game. Everything else is a Mario reaction video. The Mario sports games also make thorough use of this technique. Since Mario is a generalist character in most of these games, his animations are usually some of the most standard human motion-like. Take Mario Golf for example. Here, his swing looks like a standard middle-aged man on a golf course. Compare that to something like Waluigi's swing. Mario plays such a neutral role in the actual gameplay portion of this game that you only really get to see his personality come out when something good or bad happens, like this birdie celebration. For an example of partial loss of control, let's look at what happens when Mario touches lava in his 3D outings. This kind of reaction keeps things very lighthearted in some of the more dangerous looking worlds. There are whole videos dedicated to Mario taking damage and dying, so I won't go into them in any detail here. I'll have some links down below for you to check out. If you don't get a chance to see them, just know that Mario rarely takes damage or dies in any way that's not kinda silly or overly dramatic. Once again, this keeps things feeling less than serious than some full-on superhero character might. So, I feel like I've hit home the point enough that Mario is not a superhero, and doesn't really go dark with his character. Except when he does. There are games that seemingly break almost every ground rule I have set out here, and yet no one is complaining that Mario doesn't feel like himself. Case in point is Mario Strikers Charged. Here, his run looks much closer to a regular soccer player than his standard happy platforming self. His special moves get literally dark in a way that is not his standard character choice. And overall, the tone is a little more mature than his other outings. Here, the studio went a little bit more mature with the game as a whole. And yet, it works because they found moments to bring in references to the past, or keep some moves a bit more over the top in silliness. I can imagine that this game was a big challenge for the developers to get the green light from Nintendo and still get the maturity that they were looking for. So, taking all this information, what can we conclude? I think that what we can conclude is Mario is usually a very happy chap, and yet flexible enough to fit into almost any kind of universe, as long as we remember to bring out some moments of joy. Perhaps think of him being told by his coach, "We want to win this thing, so do your best. But always remember to have fun out there. After all, it's just a game." So, in my next video, I hope to take Mario into an example superhero universe to see how well this thesis holds up under animation. Can he still walk the line of being a jolly soul while still feeling a part of this other game's universe? Well, find out in the next video.